During the Olympic Games, I loved the self-confidence and ambition of young Irish swimmer Daniel Wiffen. Somehow, his ambition seemed refreshing. In the manuscripts printed about organizational leadership and strategy, one of the most surprising things is the emphasis on humility. For example, in Marshall Goldsmith's helpful book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, he outlines common flaws rooted in pride, such as passing the buck, refusing to take responsibility for what happens under your watch, constantly adding value to every conversation by throwing in your 2 cents, feeling the need to answer every suggestion rather than just saying thank you. In the recent American presidential debate between Harris and Trump, pride and ambition dominated. Curiously, recent empirical studies suggests that intellectual humility can be associated with various desirable political goals, including the following: reduced affective polarization, fewer tendencies to derogate others, a greater openness to learning about rival positions, and empathy for political opponents. At a time when opportunism and pragmatism are the hallmark of political life, I believe that a healthy democracy needs citizens with convictions and concurrently humility. In the words of one writer, intellectual humility is not an opponent of conviction. In a world of corporate, political, economic, and social hierarchies, I know that humility is a hard sell. After all, who wants to be on the bottom of the heap, last in line, or out of the loop? It's a normal human longing to want to be appreciated, valued, and recognized for our potential. And humility does not mean thinking demeaning and low thoughts about ourselves. It's not denying the truth of our achievements or thinking less of ourselves. Humility stems from an honest understanding of who we are. Humility stems from having someone besides yourself as the center of your attention. The letter of St. James in this weekend's liturgy notes the negative edge that jealousy and ambition bring to human dynamics. Mark's gospel hints that if the most vulnerable have enough, then everyone does. It recalls that Jesus took a little child and put it among the disciples. By placing the most vulnerable in their midst, Jesus is turning inside out the usual human power structures. Instead of the most rich and powerful at the middle of things, with the most vulnerable on the margins, Jesus places the vulnerable one in the middle. This gospel passage alone should haunt religious congregations who, on their watch, allowed young people to be invasively and uglily abused in Irish schools. In the house in Capernaum, Jesus takes his place as teacher by sitting down. The disciples have been engaged in the old argument of envy about who is the greatest in their little universe. Jesus responds, teaching by word and deed. By word, he says, if anyone desires to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all. Then Jesus teaches by deed, with the dramatic gesture of taking a child into his arms, saying that the greatest in the kingdom is the one who can receive those who have no power or prestige, as if they were Jesus himself. Thomas Merton, as so often, is insightfully helpful, writing that it is therefore of supreme importance that we consent to live not for ourselves, but for others. When we do this, we will be able, first of all, to face and accept our own limitations. As long as we secretly adore ourselves, our own deficiencies will remain to torture us with an apparent defilement. But if we live for others, we will gradually discover that no one expects us to be as gods. We will see that we are human, like everyone else, that we all have weaknesses and deficiencies, and that these limitations of ours play a most important part in all our lives. It is because of them that we need others, and others need us. We are not all weak in the same spots, and so we supplement and complete one another, each one making up in himself for the lack in another. Inspired by Thomas Merton, it would be impactful if we ourselves and our religious and political leaders also practice C.S. Lewis's insight: humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. Amen.